This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains spoilers from the Shadowhunters world with mentions of Throne of Glass, Twilight, and Supernatural. For full list, please see show notes. There's also discussion surrounding alcoholism, miscarriage, and death of a parent.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the YA literature and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing Chain of Iron. This is book 2 in the last hours by Cassie Clare. And if you are a longtime listener, then you know, we all know that these episodes run so long. So let's just get right into it. Jess, who are these people?
So we really basically everybody's back. Everybody's back. We have, Will and Tessa and Magnus. We have, and then, we have like our OGs, I guess you can say. And then we have like the Merry Thieves and the new, like Merry Thieves 2.0. So we have Cordelia, we have Lucie and Jem. Well, Jem is part of the OGs too. James, Matthew, Thomas, Christopher, Alistair. He's like 2.0-ish, adjacent, I think is the best way we can say. Anna Lightwood and Grace Blackthorn is still fucking there. We have Jesse Blackthorn. Belial is back. And we have the one new character we have is Lilith. Lilith is here and things kind of go awry as they would in the world of Shadowhunters. And I guess that's a perfect lead-in into if this book follows the pattern, because if you're new to the episodes, we have a segment called The Pattern, and it's just kind of is everything outlined within the prologue and or the first 5 chapters of a book. And so if you've been joining us a long time, welcome back. And if you're just joining us, we started the segment this year in October 2023. So Laura, does this follow the pattern?
Yes, this book absolutely follows the pattern. You could say it follows the pattern from the get-go. When we start the book with with Jesse's dead body being possessed by Belial. He's walking around, he's stabbing people, he's collecting energy. That's our whole plot right there. That's everything. Then if you want to, I have more examples. Lucie. So the next little part of this is Lucie. She is working with Grace to resurrect Jesse's body. And we have just like a little time moniker, which is 4 months. I love that shit. And, this is 4 months from the past book. The Blackthorn sword is mentioned here. She's just like, oh, there's the Blackthorn sword. That plays a huge part in the last battle of the book. And then Lucie also, like, you have to choose, Lucie, between your own life and, like, Jesse's life. All of that stuff. Grace yells at her. That is the end of Lucie's, like, subplot in this book, really, pretty much. And then later on, Hypatia is talking about Lilith and owls, and, she's in Edom, like her world is Edom. They say it over and over and over again. And then Sanvi and Semengaleth, that whole thing with the protection rituals and all of that Hypatia talks about, that is also the whole plot of the book right there. That's the whole plot of it right there. And then just to like cap everything, I kind of think Matthew suspects that Cordelia is in love with James, and Matthew gives a little, I don't even know what you call it. You just like a little slide in there with that side kiss. Gets a little action.
It doesn't even, it feels like, and everybody says this about him. Oh, he's so flirty. He's so playful. Everything with that he does is harmless. Cause she goes to give him a kiss on the cheek and he just like turns his head to get the peck on the lips. And everybody's like, ha ha ha. Oh, Matthew, you're so funny. You're so sweet. And we're here like,
Is he though?
I don't know about that because we've been saying since book 1 at least that like Laura's read this multiple times. This was my first read of this book, and I only read Chain of Gold one time when we recorded that initial episode. And again, I felt great. I called it. Laura, how many times have you read these books, or at least Chain of Iron, because it only came out in 2021?
Excellent question. Thank you for asking. I have read this book at least 3 times, but here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. This is the first time, and this is the only thing I think that really matters in this situation. This read that I have done with you, this 2.5 that I have done now for you right now, is the only read I think that matters because I know how the series ends now. I've read the 3rd book. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking for the clues in book 3 now in book 2, and I'm finding them. I'm like, there they are.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, because you've read the whole series. You've read especially for the last hours as they've come out. But as the Chronicles itself, we're still reading. We still haven't read Blackthorn Manor. And the new ones that are going to be coming out in 2024, we're both on that Kickstarter for that. So that's interesting. So now you're rereading it with another different perspective, knowing what you know with book 3. Huh.
Yeah. So this read that I'm doing with you is, I think, the only read that really matters because I'm just looking for all of these clues. I see all these clues and all of this is like a book 3 conversation, but there was a conversation there about this happened and I thought this would happen, but I see the clues for it now in book 2 and in book 1. So it makes a little bit more sense. And I just didn't have that context. So I feel a different way about it now. So it's all very interesting.
I don't want to ask fun. Different way good or different way bad because I'm it's just different and I don't want to be led one way or the other.
Yeah. And especially you might not even notice. So that's excellent too. Because it's here in the text. So we were all just it's a whole thing. We'll talk about it then. What we can talk about now. So we discussed the opening, and then we discussed Lucie and Grace. Essentially Lucie and Grace with Jessie, they talk about how Lucie has tried to command Jessie back to life, but she has not been able to. And she is against necromancy at this point. She's just very no, we can't do necromancy now. And she says Jessie's soul is anchored here. His soul is anchored here.
I don't know why I didn't pick up they're literally talking about anchors here. I don't know how that was.
Right after his body was just walking around murdering people, they're talking about anchors right here. And we also have a little introduction of Grace, how she is more than just this foil to our romantic pair. She likes science. There's a little bit more, and we get a little bit more of her. Here's the thing though. I still don't really care.
For Grace at all? No.
I understand her. I respect her. And I get you got to do what you got to do. I get that. But my heart is with Cordelia, and you're in the way of that. So
Absolutely. And I mean, I think we had this conversation, even at the end of A Chain of Gold, but even in this one, when I was giving you updates, it was very much I get trauma. I get survival. I understand what she's doing. I understand that they are still in a patriarchal society. So good for her to have this power too. But that doesn't not make me upset with how it's going down.
Yeah, it's just it's it's a whole thing. So that's what we get in that opening. And then we have Cordelia, and Cordelia is, her wedding is in the morning, and we have Matthew picking her up. We have the subplot of Matthew's father, Sonar is waiting by the door because Elias has been released from the Basilius 5 days ago, and they don't know where he is. Where's Elias?
He's on a bender.
The Basilius did not cure him, whatever. We have Matthew picking up Cordelia and taking her to the Hell Ruel. And Matthew drops these lines again, like, Kit can almost ignite gunpowder. So that's later on in the book, right? Later on in the book. That's just, one of those things. But Jess, I think you love Matthew Fairchild. Is that right?
I do. I was thinking about this and I was like, watch me get fucked again, because I was all like, Gem. And then I was really about Will. So when I was giving you updates, I was like, Matthew, I love you. And then I'm like, I'm going to reserve my opinions until James does not have a spell on him. And even when the spell is off by the end of this book, I was just like, no, I'm still down for Matthew pretty bad. Did you call that like forever, like a mile away? Because I want to know yours too.
This is a really good way to segment into this. Okay, so obviously I love Matthew Fairchild. Obviously I do. But no, my heart is with James because I love the tragedy of James Herondale. Like, and I say tragedy because like at the end of this book, like he's still, we'll
get into it.
He's not happy at the end of this book. No. So he's still in like it's still very tragic, I would say. But the tragedy of James Herondale, because he is, and he says it when he confronts Grace at the end of this book, like, you have robbed me of years of my life. I don't know who I am, what I like, who am I? You've robbed my entire personality. I don't, what is love? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how am I ever supposed to forgive you and live with myself?
And only because she got made, essentially, because she was going to keep with the ruse.
She was going to keep doing this for like an undeterminate amount of time, because she tried to take the bracelet off before his wedding, and Tatiana and like James, it was another miscommunication trope. So the tragedy, especially in this book of James Herondale, is something that I just love, because he actively is like fighting against it the whole time. So like knowing that their love is so strong that it breaks the bracelet, and that they needed the bracelet in the first place.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing is tragic, because even when he's thinking about in this book where she's like, you were sick. She like, whatever, like the Shadowhunters think about like chicken pox. Cordelia already had it. So she could hang out with him. And he's like, I remember none of this. And then it was like killing him, because he's like, why is this familiar? And then every time he would go to do something, he would forget. And he tells Grace that too. He goes, I tried. Whatever you did to me, whenever I would go to do the thing, I went ahead and did something else.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So that is my answer to your question. I am a James Herondale girly, just like I am a Will Herondale girly, like daddy and son. It is, I'm all for it.
I love, but and it's just like, how sometimes it's like, and we had this conversation for, maybe it was Throne of Glass, where we're like, do you want to be the other person, like be the third, or do you just want them for yourselves? Because it's like, I love Cordelia and James for each other 1,000%. Yes. For myself, I'm really feeling Matthew. I was like, Matthew and I would make a good pair.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's why also Cordelia is not upset when Matthew picks her up to take her to the bachelorette party, which she thinks is like a sledding party. It's so cute. It's so cute.
I love the Merry Thieves group of it all, because obviously we have the OGs, they're older, but they're like, for the fun part of it, not like the just tell the adults so we can all work together part of it. They're still like, oh yeah, they like the false pretenses that they give to like the OGs. Yes, we are doing very cordial, very, very righteous things. We are gentlemen and ladies of the town. And they're getting like rip roaring drunk. They're having so much fun. They're raging. I love all of that because they're both having their own bachelor and bachelorette parties, but then they make a joke out of James's having a reverse mermaid. I was like, that was so fun.
Clarabella. So that's just like a really good. Okay, so what happens? Like, Matthew drops off Cordelia at the Hauruel for Lucy and Anna. Anna's there. Anna. Oh my gosh, Anna.
Anna.
Anna Lightwood. Oh my goodness. We see Kellington, and we kind of learn that Matthew and Kellington had an affair. Matthew only likes hopeless love. Malcolm Fade is there. Hi, Malcolm. He's dancing. And then Hypatia is there, and she's the one who talks about Lilith, Samael, owls. They're celebrating Lilith, and Hypatia's like, yeah, it's just decorations. Ha, 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 ha. And it's like, okay. Good to know. And Hypatia essentially gives us the whole plot of the book right there, which I thought was very helpful of her. Thank you, Hypatia.
I was looking at my notes right on chapter 1. I was like, this Lilith backstory is going to be very important.
Yeah, and it absolutely was. And also Hypatia is like, hey, BT Dubs, did I give you my Pixis? And
they don't lie about it either. They were like, you did? That was so kind of you.
Yes. And she's like, oh my gosh. All right.
These kids. You're lucky. We like your family.
But here is also a plot. Here is Lilith herself disguised as the fairy girl with blue stones being like, are you the shadow hunter that danced here? I admire you. Is that Cortana? Well, Waylon's alive. He's alive. I could take you.
And I mean, obviously this episode is going to be full of spoilers, but to flash forward even from this part, with all the things that unwind with Lilith, I love Lucy to Cordelia to her core. She's like, it's not your fault. And Cordelia is like, obviously, I'm like, no, it is. Like, I made these choices. And Lucy's straight up like, under false pretenses. We all were duped. We're all kind of fucked right now. And if we want to play like, ooh, who's the worst one? Like, if anything, we're all a match made in heaven because our granddad is a demon of hell.
Exactly.
The prince demon of hell, specifically.
Exactly. And everybody, and James and Cordelia and Matthew each like harbor this guilt of all of this, like Matthew with his whole backstory, James with this whole, like, it's kind of the shame about Belial and the shame like about his feelings for Cordelia and Grace too, because that ends up like playing a part of it. And Cordelia has this deep shame about not being able to hold Cortana after she realizes that she's a paladin and that whole thing. It's here where Lilith says, like, you don't have to marry a man that doesn't love you. BT Dubs. Like, there's things you can do. It doesn't have to be this way. And just knowing that is like the mother of demons, like saying that to you. And Cordelia is like, no. No. And she doesn't hesitate. She's like, no, you don't make a deal with a fairy. Like, we're done. No. And she walks away. Just knowing that proves just there that Cordelia deserves Cortana. But, she has to go through her own guilt over that. Oh, my goodness. Just to wrap this section up, Anna and Lucy discuss about married ladies have more freedom than single ladies.
Which it was such an interesting thing. And I had never thought of it until it was put in this context. They're like, you're married. You're all, you're booed up. It's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about who you're seen with, especially when you have like a group like the Merry Thieves. Like they're all just besties. They're all just friends. Like, and they're James's best mates. Why wouldn't there be like why wouldn't everything be so platonic?
Yeah. And now Cordelia also can wear like boobs out. Fitted outfits. Like she can do the whole thing. She can choose her colors. Like she's on it.
And James is loving it too. He's like always just speechless when he sees her. And he's like, I see everybody looking at my girl right now too. He's loving it. There is just an appreciation for her. And Cordelia is loving it too.
Oh, she absolutely loves it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Next we have the reverse mermaid. It's just like Of course. And Matthew was like, well, he said that she was backward, and I thought she was just uneducated. I didn't want to be rude. Like, it's...
But I think it would have been funnier. It would have also made sense if that wasn't the case. Like, I knew this was just so much better.
This was better.
James is so real for being like, look, I didn't even want to go out. I just wanted to hang out with y'all. Because
Matthew's selling tickets for like dates with Clarabella. He's like, oh, okay.
He's like, he's making a profit. It reminds me of Editor Sam's bachelor party. He's like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to drink in a cabin.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want a whole thing. And so Matthew does see that. He's like, okay, we can go upstairs. Like, it's fine. But it's upstairs where Matthew is like, James, you don't have to do this. And he gets a little like feisty with them about it. Like,
he's very snarky. Obviously, he's been drinking, and everybody, it's the elephant in the room that nobody talks about. Matthew's drinking problems. But he's so real for it because he's both like in love with Cordelia, but also looking out for James and looking out for her and looking out for himself. And there's just a lot of emotions all over the place. And he's trying to he's definitely like projecting in these moments.
Oh, he absolutely is. And this, though, is where James falls kind of into Shadowland here, which is, again, a big plot of the book. And he's like looking around. He's in a different place. It's like not Belial's world. And James is like, well, what the fuck is going on? And here, but I am bringing this up because when James comes back, James is like, Matthew, you're looking at me like you wish me gone. Like, did you wish me gone? And Matthew's like, I mean, no, Jamie.
I would never do that. And again, like the kids, I say the kids, they're younger because they're younger. They do that with the Enclave a lot too. They'll be like, "What? I am so surprised. I am so shocked at these cause of events."
Yeah. Oh, it's like, oh my goodness. But it's just kind of sad. Like, again, like the tragedy of James, like I said earlier, there's also this tragedy of Matthew. Like Matthew's, from this perspective, like we see with this outside perspective, Matthew is like drinking himself into a hole. Like it is not good. And his shadow hunting does suffer at the end of this. He does he slips, he misses things.
He's shaking because he's like going through withdrawals. If he's not mainlining it's really sad. It's really sad. And it's you have a glimpse of his possible future because we see how Elias is when he comes back, and Cordelia's, which is why I love at the end of this, she's like, I'll go, exception. And he's like, name it. What? Like, and it'll be interesting to see book 3 because obviously not everybody can just go cold turkey with any type of substance dependency. So I'm curious to see how he's like, and also it's his own inner work that is his own backstory. And I know we'll get to, because you can't just rely on somebody else to fix you too.
Exactly. What do we have? We have a little mention as Lucy drops off Cordelia. She's dropping her off at home, and like Jessie appears, and they have a whole talk about like she's not ready to show him the beautiful Cordelia. There's just like this little mention of Anna and with Lily, a vampire from Peking. It's like, oh, Lily, hi.
I was like, it's our Lily.
Hi, Lily. Great to see you. But then we have Grace's like backstory. This is 1893 to 1896. This is just like Jessie is 7 years older. They start training. And then at 10, Jessie has his rune ceremony. The Silent Brothers put on voyance. And then he dies, essentially. Yep. And Tatiana is very, very strange. That's essentially, we get Grace's backstory in like little sections,
and it's always at the end of the chapters too.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, whatever. Cordelia on her wedding day, I love it when her mother says to her, Cordelia, do not forget your own heroism. And Cordelia is looking at her mom just like, 'cause you did. Just saying. But I love that for her.
I love that. And because it's already, I mean, because at this point when it's also happening, Elias hasn't showed up yet.
Right.
We know that and then he, of course, who makes it about himself.
Right after this.
Yeah, he shows up after. Like, she's done. She's done.
She's ready.
And I mean, we get a glimpse of her wedding dress because it is the cover of book 2. But then her dad shows up and he's like, hey, y'all, I wouldn't miss your wedding. And everyone's like, you sure about that? Because you're about to.
Yeah. And it's also like, so Elias is like, honey, I'm home, essentially. And Cordelia is like, where the fuck have you been? And Elias is like, where the fuck have you been? And of course, like, Sonar is like pregnant and she's just like, Elias, whatever. But I like Alistair being like, what the fuck? Like, and Cordelia being like, you look old, like your suit looks like shit. Where the fuck have you been?
I like, and you know what? You can see, like, as much as I'm not apologizing for the way Alistair has treated the Merry Thieves in school. I think having this background, I think Cordelia has a new respect for her brother to be like, and she talks about it a lot in her inner thoughts of like, he's been carrying, like, I respect that he wanted to shield me from this, but I'm also so glad that I know the truth now, because everything would have been clouded. And she kind of held things against her brother without knowing this truth. And now she's like, he did it all for me. It had nothing to do with her mother. It had everything to do with like being a protective older brother to her.
Yeah. And Elias just like stands there Alistair just stands there while Elias like gifts Cordelia this elaborate scabbard that he like went to get her in France. That's where he was this whole time, getting her this scabbard from the Fae in France. And of course it's beautiful. And of course Cordelia is like torn because she's like, that's my dad. Like,
yeah.
He's like doing this and like, this is great, but like, I just don't trust this. And it's just so hard.
Yeah, it's a very strained relationship for sure. And even when, again, spoiler, he dies, Alistair is even like, what does it say about me? He's like, I don't feel like, if anything, it's like a burden has lifted. And I totally get that. If like my biological father died, I'd be like, oh, good. Everybody's life is so much easier now. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, it's just this like strange dynamic, and on of course, like this addiction, like people that suffer from this, they don't like realize that they're making it like all about themselves. Like,
and I think that's the thing that's so interesting that you see it here is how people with substance abuse addictions, how it strains everybody else, and you're seeing that impact on everybody else.
Yeah, it's hard, especially when he makes a scene at the wedding later, but we'll get to it. James has the bracelet still on and he's trying to remember to take it off. This is him actively fighting against the magic of the bracelet. Every time that he's aware of it is him actively trying to fight it, because you're not supposed to know that it's there at all. Because
he's like, I shouldn't have like even though this is for Grace, like out of respect for, because it's all like, this is their wedding day. This is their wedding day. He's like, the least I can do out of respect for Cordelia is I remove this. Like that's his like bare minimum for him. He's like, that's the least I can do. She saved me from persecution. I should at least respect her any further because they're also both in this state of like, oh my God, he'll never like me. And he's like, oh my God, she'll never like me. They're both in this like, just talk. Just please talk. We have Will talking. Will and Tessa come in. They talk about, Cordelia's dad is here. It's going to be a thing. Just like be prepared. It's going to be a thing. Will, love him. He gives some advice. He's like, always tell Cordelia everything. Secrets destroy. Secrets fester. Secrets destroy. Tell her everything. Thank you, Will Herondale. He's not just saying this. He's not just saying this shit. He has lived this. Like, boy's been through it.
He knows. In this chapter, we also get mentioned, like, the Pangborns are there from Cornwall. That will play in later. Cornwall, that's where Magnus and Jem are going to be. We have the introduction of Philomena D'Angelo, which is in the intro. Cassie Clare says, thank you to Rick to letting me use the noble name of D'Angelo, of course. That's Rick Riordan. Love that. So this is Philomena. We have her introduction. We have fucking Grace showing up, coming up to James, being like, I need to talk to you. Okay, so now knowing in retrospect that she is going to take the bracelet off of him makes this, for me, on a reread, not frustrating. Because it's like, okay, she was here to take it off of him. So, like, her coming up to him and being like, I want to talk to you right now. I want to take this off of you right now. Like, it makes it less frustrating. The first time through, you're like, what the shit, my girl?
Yeah. Yeah, and because it's not like, hey, let me take this off of you. She's like, I need to see you alone.
Right now.
Right, and everyone's, and Matthew is like, no, you don't. It's his wedding day. Leave him alone. Like, Matthew is like, he might be in love with Cordelia, and by might, I mean he is, but he's also like, don't fuck with my friends. Like, I care about these people. Like, stop fucking shit up. And I forgot until the end of this book, when she's telling, when James is like, have you pulled this shit on my friends, on my family? You know what? I don't know. And I was like, she did. She fucking did it with Matthew. And then she was like, no, but they would, like, even when I do, like, they don't remember. And he's like, I don't want to know. And I was like, that's why Matthew hasn't said anything, because he doesn't remember. I forgot that he doesn't remember.
But he knows, like, something isn't.
Yeah, he's like icked by her.
Yeah. So Grace says, like, come to the drawing room. She wants to release the bracelet. Matthew says no. Matthew's drinking a lot here. And Grace goes to the drawing room. It's a whole thing. Charles is also there. He's talking to Will and Tessa about Paris. That's its own thing too. Oh my goodness. So Grace says in her own, like, inner dialogue when she's waiting for James in the drawing room, that James's love feels like a chain around her, like dragging her down. Of course, that's the titles of these books. She sees Lucy. She's like, hey, Lucy, let's bring Malcolm into this. And she's like, word. And then Tatiana comes, possesses the maid. And Tatiana is like, yo, you know, what the fuck is going on here? I had to see this in person. Belial could have sent an Eidolon demon, but he sent me to possess this body instead. Of course, an Eidolon demon is used later. And this is also where Kit comes into the drawing room, and Kit is like, yo, hi.
Kit is so innocent too. He's just like, hey, what's up? And then even later, he's like, oh, you know, there might be more to her. Like, she likes potions and stuff. And in my head, I'm just like, this is this is just so self-serving for her. This has nothing to do with you. Like, poor Kit. I like Kit too.
Poor Kit.
Kit 1.0.
Yeah, for real. Jess, did you cry when Jem started playing violin at this wedding?
I did not cry. I got really excited though. I was like, if this violin, you saw my note. I was like, if this violinist isn't Jem, and then it was Jem, and I was like, wow! I was really excited.
It is very exciting. It's very sweet. The whole wedding is very sweet. The vows here, I'm just bringing this up, is there's a note that says, jealousy as cruel as the grave. And they're like pans. I say pans as if this is like film. And it is in my head.
And it is in our heads.
But it says like Matthew looked very grim when it said like jealousy as cruel as the grave. Matthew was very grim. And then, you know, there's this kiss. And I love the kiss because Cordelia is like, oh my God, I can't force a kiss on James Herondale. And James is like, come here, baby. Like, James is all in. Yeah, my note says that he does not hesitate on this kiss. He's like, come here, Daisy. Then they have their reception. Magnus is there. Magnus, he has to go to the Spiral Labyrinth with Jem. This is where Elias makes a scene. Elias. But I love I hate this, that Elias, again, makes this all about him. I should have been my daughter Sujane's. Like, how dare they cut me out of the wedding? No one, and Cordelia's like, no one knew you were coming, my guy. Like,
and honestly, isn't it, like, it doesn't have to be one person. Like, it could also, like, I think we know about it even from the first book of The Last Hours, where they say it can also, it's typically your parabatai.
Yeah, like, come on. It wasn't ever going to be you. Like, come on. But then I love, though, the working together of James and Alistar. Alistair to kind of corral Elias and like take care of that situation so Cordelia does not have to stress about it. Like they put everything aside to like deal with it. And I do really love that.
And I think they like it for each other too, because there is like a nod to like, hey, we gotta, the eye conversation that they have with each other to be like, let's handle this.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh. And then of course it's like, James, take me home, James, take me home to the house I know nothing about. Oh my gosh. Like I could never. Well,
and that he decorated it too. But how much do you love where she's like, if you just wanted to be next door to your best friend.
Yeah,
you could have just said that.
it.
I was going to be fine anyway. But it had me thinking, and maybe I just don't remember, how is everybody making their money? Because this is like, where we talk about with Mystic Falls, you have the found families, like, the OG, like, where is everybody's money coming from? Because they talk about like, oh, I was going to get paid from the Enclave and the Institute. And I'm like, okay, but how are those things making money? Is it like a church situation? Everybody has some sort of dues?
Yes, I do. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I do think it's like everyone has dues. And then back in the day, they mentioned this in this book too. Back in the day, you could have spoils. So like you could amass like a personal fortune that way. And then like in the like ancient families, like the Herondales and the Blackthorn, they have all of this like, yeah. But you also do get paid. You do get like a salary or, you do get, and Consul, and it's like Consul. That's why they say like Matthew's family has a lot.
Well, one of the things that Cassie has at the end of this book, and we read it through the audio, is that at one point Elias is asking James Herondale for money, and he asks for 5,000 pounds, and she translates it to, and this again is from 2021, so let's like add, inflation into 2023. In 2021, the inflation of 5,000 pounds was $600,000.
Casually.
600,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Sorry. So it's more than American dollars.
Casually dropping that to James. Like, I need this. Like, now, please.
You can do it. It's fine.
You have it.
You have it.
Okay, sir. Okay. He's like, but you have this house, and let's talk about this house. Let's talk about this 4-story, like, townhouse, this row house. Oh, my God. It's in Mayfair. James decorated it. It's Persian paradise for Cordelia.
Yeah, somebody was having an estate sale. The person who was having an estate sale had passed, and there was just like a lot of like original Persian paintings and drawings and just things that really resonated with Cordelia from when she grew up and her family. And she was and he even makes it a point. Oh my gosh, like I decorated this entire house with Cordelia in mind. And she's like, man, Grace is going to enjoy this. I really fucking like this house. This sucks. Like, and I get this, every time you hear her internal thoughts, I get that spiral. I think a lot of us have gone down that spiral too of like, this is great for now, but then it's hard to pull yourself out of it.
Yeah, and especially too when James is like, well, this is why I haven't seen him for a few months. Like he's been pouring his entire self like into decorating this house. Like he has all of this like you said, Jess, this Persian art, this wallpaper, all of these jewel tones, like this chess set. Because you mentioned chess this one time at this party when we were dancing, and she's like, "You were actually fucking listening? Like what?" And it's like, let's just wait. And this is where, and they're in the study. She's like looking at all of this, and this is where they're like, we have some marriage rules, right? We have marriage rules. Guests, if we're going to have guests, we have to get permission. And
I think it's important because like, as of right now, us as the reader, even though we know all the behind the scenes and all the feels of the characters, this is very much in the book, a marriage of convenience. That is all that the characters know this to be. I mean, like the veteran Shadowhunters think of it like a marriage of true love and all of this, but the characters that are in the know, this is right now a marriage of convenience.
Yeah, and so they're like kind of putting these rules down, like we have to attend like this many parties, and you have to absolutely dote on me, and we're gonna play games, and we're gonna share things and ask questions, and like get to know get to know each other a little
Which
bit.
I love. I feel like nobody plays games anymore. And I love that they're doing things that also challenge each other. With the questions, with playing chess, it's all about strategy. With the cards, she's like, I'm shit at cards. I don't even know if I want to play anymore, but chess is really fun. Like or just reading, like having those conversations, are still so important. And you don't hear about people doing them a lot.
And she's like, why do you hate Alistair? And she like learns why the Merry Thieves don't like Alistair. And she's like, oh my God. And the whole time she's kind of fretting like, okay, are we going to share a room or not? What is our like marriage bed situation? And he takes
our
her
marriage
out.
runes, because let's not
Right.
forget, like there's 2 runes. You have the rune at the ceremony and then the rune over your heart, like the night of the wedding, when they just like consummate the marriage, and they're like, we can't do that. I mean, and then she was like, I don't know what your expectations are. She's like, do we? Don't we? I don't know what's going to happen. Like, she's like, I don't know. But she's like, Lucy has to know. She writes about wind and thunder. So she has to know more than me.
It's so cute. She's so cute.
Meanwhile, they're both like clueless.
Yeah. So James takes her upstairs. They each have their own room and they share a bathroom, which is adorable. And then, he kind of like shows her and then he's like, okay, good night, peace. And then Cordelia's like, I got to get out of my dress. Oh my God, I got to get out of my dress. So she has James like unlace her out of the dress and like she's panicking like, oh my God, he must be so uncomfortable. And we, through him, know that he is just losing his mind. And he's like,
yeah,
oh my
he's
God.
like this. He's like, that's why she's like, thanks. And he's like, okay, good night.
Okay, good night. She's like, please leave, please go. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And like he's mortified and like she's mortified, but like for the good reasons, right? But like it's all like a miscommunication trope. Oh my God, it's so sweet. It's adorable. Their married life, because they talk about like this 2 weeks of like married life, is just wonderful. And of course, Jess, this is where we get the necklace, which I know you love.
I love the necklace. And I think also because we're getting into like the married rule parties, another rule that they had agreed upon with their marriage, which is so important to the story, is where she's like, look, I know you're in love with Grace. I just ask out of respect that you tell me when shit's going down. Like, I know you love her. I know you have this agreement with her. I just also don't want to hear it from everybody else. I want to know kind of like how to have like my for lack of a better analogy, ducks in a row. And no, I had to. So she's like, just don't blindside me. And he was like, I can't believe you think I would ever disrespect you. Like, even like take the marriage out of it. You as a person, you as my friend, like I gave you a promise. Like, I'm going to uphold my end of that. He doesn't. Like 2 to 3 times he does not. But I think that's also like an important thing to note, that was one of her rules. That was one of her stipulations, that they're going to keep doing this. And it does not happen.
Yeah. It's, oh my gosh, it's really something. I want to give you the world.
And
I want
like her a necklace, and there's more to it. We still don't know, because he was going to tell her something about when giving that necklace, and then they get interrupted, as they always do. And then he's like, he brings it up at the end again, like, oh, I'm going to tell her everything. I'm going to tell her about this necklace, and they get interrupted again. And I want to know what this necklace is, because I love that, like, because it was just such a small attention to detail. And this is like one of the things that I love about also like being a person who's a gift giver. He heard her say one time, and even with their discussions of traveling the world, and he's like, I want to give her the world. So he gave her the fucking world. I'm obsessed.
James. Oh my God. James. Oh my gosh. So they go to this, James and Cordelia, they go to this party. Lucy doesn't want to go. She goes to this party. She's not feeling it.
She says, she's like, I feel ill. And she's like, I don't want to go.
She's like, I don't want to go. So she doesn't go. But at this party, James and Cordelia dance. And this is where, I'm just bringing this up because this is where Matthew drops the line like, well, I'm a murderer. And it's like, Matthew.
And everybody just thinks that he's like, okay, if you say so.
Yeah, but he's confessing. He's like, but like people are like, ha ha ha, Matthew, ha ha. But he's also like complimenting Cordelia, all of this stuff. This is also the subplot. Charles, Will, and Tessa are going to Paris in the morning. And also someone died on patrol that night. So that is kind of like party things. Also, James and Cordelia have a really wonderful dance that Grace walks in, and like James kind of like loses the dance, and Cordelia's like, fuck this, let's leave.
Good
Mad
for
respect.
her.
Yeah.
I like,
mad
yeah,
respect.
absolutely. She's like, we're not playing this shit.
No.
We're going home. I want to play chess.
Yeah, fuck this. I don't want to do it. I want to do it. So like,
Good for her.
Yeah.
Honestly, she's like, we're not doing this. I'm not even going to like appease you with the idea that you can even
yeah.
converse with her. Ugh.
Yeah, terrible. We have Jesse's death through Grace's eyes, right? We have our locket situation. We have the Anathea crystal that has Annabelle Blackthorn. The whole fucking piece de resistance for the Dark Artifices is
Holy
right
shit. Holy shit.
It's right here. It's right here. This is why we read in the order that I had you read, Jess, because like, Jesus, this is right here.
This is how you read it. Eventually we'll put everything together.
We'll put
this is how you read it.
Yeah, because like, oh my gosh, how could you? This is like her torture. This is all of it right here. That's because you would know this going into. Okay. What do we have? We have Tatiana. Tatiana is like kind of poisoning Grace against the Shadowhunters. Jesse is dead. Jesse eventually comes back as a ghost, and this is where Jesse and Grace kind of have this conversation of like, Tatiana hired a warlock to preserve Jesse, and Jesse's like, I don't love this. Like, I don't like this. I don't like this very much. I'm just going to briefly mention Ariadne and Anna in a closet. Good for them. It's not a great situation, but good for them.
No, but I mean, Anna, and we've known this since book 1, and again, based on the reading order that we read it in the earlier books, that Ariadne broke Anna's heart. Like, to the point where it's like, you know, she's like, her wall's up where she's like, fuck this, fuck love. She's like, sex is super fun. But like, fuck everything else. Like, and her walls are very, very much up. And Ariadne's like, oh my gosh, please forgive me. And she's like, are things still the same? Has anything changed? Then no. Like, this is who I am now. And if you want to get mad at anybody, get mad at yourself.
Like, yeah. Yeah, but you know, they do get a little hot and heavy in a closet. Good for them. One of my favorite moments is this quiet moment right here where Will goes after this wheel demon. I love it so much. It's my favorite thing. Tessa, can I? Can I?
I just imagine he like Steven, he goes, wee! And you just imagine him just like running and leaping and like missing a couple stairs so he can just like go fight this demon, and everyone's like, Is he okay? Is your dad okay?
It's like they're old enemies. They're old friends. He likes to do this after parties. Like, and then they're just like, cha. It's so sweet. It's just one of my favorite things. Like, the love.
You know, because it's like, I mean, we've talked about this with other characters, but Will is such a perfect example of, he didn't have his childhood. He was carrying so much guilt and burden growing up that it was like, now he gets to have his childhood, and he's just a thrill with it all.
It's amazing. It's just so good. It's so good. Not great is Jesse reading his own fan fiction. Stop.
She was like, I was going to select the parts because fair. Okay. Like,
fair.
Here you are.
Mortifying.
Like, mortifying. He's like, obviously he's taking it a whole different, you're making fun of me. You're mocking me. And she's like, mortified. That's not where her mind is. She's like, she never admitted it still. She never says at the end, no, it's because I wish that were real. I wish that were us.
Yeah, like,
I felt so, you're just cringing. You're embarrassed for Lucy so hard right there.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm going to go unless you command me. Are you going to command me? No? Okay, then I'm going to go. Because he's so mad. Because Lucy's like, I love you. And he's like, no. Stop. You feel bad. Like, if I didn't have this like tragic thing, I would just be this boy that you didn't care about, who died, who's weak. Like, just like you said, he takes it to this whole other place. And Lucy's like, I'm just embarrassed. Like, stop yelling at me. I'm embarrassed.
She tries to make excuses. She's like, this isn't about us. Like, that Lucy.
I'm not Lucinda.
Yeah, I'm not Lucinda. Like, Lucinda's smart and strong and powerful, and I'm just me. Like, that's not, like, you have, like, the evil Prince James. Like, James isn't evil, and he's not a prince. Like, obviously, these aren't real.
It's just so funny. And
you know what? Lucy is, she'd be a great author in 2023 because those original character names, let me tell you.
There you go. She's so funny. She's so funny. What do we have? We have James getting headaches. That's him fighting the bracelet. And, every time he gets a headache, he's trying to get it off. He's, he's sending messages to James, James is sending messages to Jem and Magnus about the Spiral Labyrinth, about falling into shadow. He also tells Cordelia about going into shadow, but then it's like, they're talking and they're like, hey. But then it's like, boom, boom, boom. Basil Pounceby is dead. We have to go to the Devil Tavern and we all need to talk about my dream. And that's just so cute. Like, I love it. I love it. Especially because right here, where James is telling them about the dream in the Devil Tavern, Christopher is like, yo, let's tell somebody. Let's tell someone about this. Someone else.
Christopher is the most sensible of everybody.
It's so funny. And everyone's like, no, that's not. He's like, but why though? Why though?
Like, this doesn't impact their, like, secrets at all right now.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's just like, okay. We also have Charlotte confronting Matthew about his drinking. Oh my God. I feel so bad. And of course, James had to, like, witness all of that too. It's just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And he's like, he's hearing part of it and he's just like, I'm just going to let them know, let my presence be known. But, like, they're also, they're family for what we know them as. So they're not going to shield this conversation either. Yeah. And it's so awkward. And of course, keep going. It's like, keep going, James. Like, we're going to keep fighting, like, whether you're here or not.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. And of course, the end of this conversation is, Matthew moving out and getting his own place and not telling James for a while. But it is from, like, James overhearing this conversation that he goes downstairs and fires the gun. The gun works for James and it doesn't work for anybody else. And that is, I like it. It becomes James really likes that gun and it does save the day a few times.
It wasn't intentionally so. It wasn't like a oops.
Yeah, like he's on it. He feels like it's an extension of his arm. I love it. This family dinner. Oh my goodness. James's impeccable manners. I don't know. I would be dying.
Right. Dying. You know what? Let's talk about this because our Twilight episode, this episode is coming out in December. Our Twilight episode was in October. We have Mr. Edward Cullen, who had his dinner 1918. That's when the boy grew up. He was 17 in 1918, whatever it was. So then he has Bella come home, introduces him to the family, and he's like, she ate. She's good. And Laura and I, if you've heard that episode, we have lots of issues with that. Like, you let her do what she needs to do. And as you're reading this, I was like, yes. Like, when he's talking about chess and the history of chess and how it was invented and the creators and, like, just like Persian history. He's heard all of this. He's had late night conversations with Cordelia. But what does he do? He engages and entices her dad. He is the best father-in-law. He's learned Persian fluently as a surprise to Cordelia. Like, her mouth must be open the entire time. Like, sir, you are so getting laid in my head when you get home.
Like, oh my God. It's like, oh my God. And then he's like, I used to be a war hero. Have you heard my war stories? And James is like, I have only heard them through outside sources, but I would love to hear them directly from the man himself. Like, and it's just like, whew. And Alistair is looking at this too, like, okay. Like, he gets it. And this is also too, James is like, we are partners here. Like, why would Why would I be anything less than this? I am here for you. I am here to make it easy for you. So like, I see this and I am going to take this burden off of you. And yeah, I can sit here for a couple hours and use my manners. It's not a big deal, Daisy. Like,
he's so good. Look, I just want to say, triangle is the strongest shape. Why does this girl have to choose?
For real.
I just love James so much, and I also love Matthew. I don't want to choose.
Oh my God. And like later, James is like, why don't you read me a little bit from the beautiful Cordelia? Like, I want to know you. I want to know like what other people like think. I want to hear this. And she does. And she reads to him a little bit from the beautiful Cordelia. And she says like the energy in the room became like different and like charged. And you can tell like, but then he has a blinding headache and you're just like, oh my God.
Read to me. I want to know what makes you happy, makes you laugh. I want to know more about you, Daisy. I mean, everything about this dinner, about this night is so special. And then like he even like also thinks about Matthew because he's seeing so many similarities in Cordelia's dad, like the signs that he sees in Matthew. And he's like, this isn't the future that I want for my best friend.
Yeah. It's just so good. In between kind of this, we have Lucy leaving Anna's and Jesse appears and he admits like he loves her too. And this is where we have dance with me, Jesse Blackthorne. I command it.
This is Casper.
This is Casper.
Can I keep you forever? That's what this is.
And you can see it too, like in the, oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. We have a little bit, the killer, strikes again, but the victim kind of escapes. We have that whole thing. This is where we have James having, nightmares. And James is having nightmares. This is where we get the window being open and like all of these things. And this is where Cordelia wakes up James, who's thrashing. And this is a very Feyre kind of Reese moment, but it's also like, ooh. And James is like, hey, real fast. He goes from being like, oh my God, I'm so scared to like, hey, wife, real fast.
Yeah, and then she's like, because obviously she didn't have time to think. He's like, there is a thin piece of fabric holding everything together right now.
Yeah, it's like woo, and they're getting a little, hands are going, and Cordelia's like, I'm just gonna ride this one out and see how this goes.
Her.
Yeah,
good for her. Every time something happened, I was like, good for her.
Yeah,
James, you're pissing me off. You're giving me whiplash, but good for you, Cordelia. Do what you need to do.
But then, of course, they are interrupted, as they always are, by Thomas. Thomas interrupts. Thomas. And we learn that Philomena has been stabbed to death. That's not great. In between kind of this, Lucy gets approached by a ghost who is like, hello, command me to forget. I've been hearing on word on the street is that you can command other ghosts to forget about their life. Can you do that for me?
And Lucy is even saying, she's like, yes, but no, because then you're going to go crazy because you're going to be wondering why, like there's something missing. You're going to actively know that there's something missing and that you're forgetting something. And then that would be its own hellscape.
Yeah. But she's like, I don't care. Do it. And Lucy's like, and this is where Jesse's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, GTFO, like leave her alone, which is scary. It's very scary because then they say that it is through this girl that they are able to figure out that Philomena's ghost is in the factory.
Yeah, and it's all those little connections. And then, but Lucy also hasn't shared with everybody. They know that she sees ghosts because that is like a Herondale trait. But to the extent of her relationship with ghosts, I mean, people still don't even know that that's how she saved Cordelia in book 1, was because the ghosts came to her command unintentionally. She didn't ask them. She was just like, oh my God, somebody saved my best friend. And they just kind of came to the rescue. Is this the part? Does Jessamine know yet?
No.
Okay, this isn't the part that's later. It's just so interesting because it's like, but why are you hiding? Like, that's what I don't understand. Why is Lucie hiding it right now? Is it because it's her own secret because of her relationship with Jesse?
Yeah. It's her own thing. It's her own thing. And so we use Philomena to get to talk to Philomena's ghost. Here we are. We get that. We get it. We get some information, but we also get a demon attack. And then we also have like, you could have saved me.
Yeah. And that, of course, sits on Cordelia because Philomena is Italian. So she's speaking in her native tongue, and Cordelia knows Italian. Of
course she does.
Of course she does. I feel like a lot of them know at least 2 languages.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because hers would be like Italian, Persian, and English. And then I feel like Will knows French and English.
And Welsh.
Oh, Welsh. Sorry, distracted. But this is also, like you were saying, she's hearing that she could have saved her. And now Cordelia carries on this guilt. If she was there, if she knew, if she had Cortana, if Cortana didn't burn her, because that's its own thing happening too. And she's like, what's going on with my relationship with Cortana? Am I no longer worthy?
Yeah. And this is also, where this is the pain right here. It drops, she drops Cortana here. And this is where James saves the day by shooting the demon and saving Cordelia. And this is where Cordelia is like, holy shit, something's really wrong. Like, I would have died if James had not stepped in and defended me. Like, oh my gosh. And of course, this is where Cordelia goes on her journey with Waylon the Smith a little bit later on. And Anna, Anna use it? Anna with the necklace using the whip. I was like, oh my goodness, Anna, Isabel, Anna. Oh my God. Lightwood. It's strong with the Lightwoods. Grace, 1897. This is where Tatiana brings Grace to Brosslin Forest, and she gets her the gift of power over men.
Which, like, in theory, great power. Yes, please. But not like this. I just have such a every time, like, I'm smiling, we're chatting in this episode, and then the second you say Grace, I'm like, I get so nasty. I get a nasty face.
Yeah, well, and she gets power over men, over their desires, over their thoughts, over their actions, over their feelings, over everything. And then Tatiana takes Grace to France to just practice and just run through men.
Well, which is so funny because she's like, what does she say? The older guys, it was so easy. She's like, everybody and keep in mind, she's a kid when this is happening. She's like, everybody wants to buy me a pony, buy me new dresses. This is great for my mom and I. And now my mom's getting mad at me because she's like, oh, you have to practice on like the boys your age. And she's like, this is fucking boring.
Yeah, they can't do anything. They don't have any money. It's all like, like, I hate this. So yeah, she's real for that. She's really real for that. You know, like, it's good. It's so fun. It's so funny.
This is also the chapter, because again, I bookmarked some things in the audiobook where I found it interesting. And I'm flashing back a little bit when they are maybe they're back at Hell Ruel, and it's Lucie and Grace, and Malcolm is telling Lucie specifically, because they're going to Malcolm about like, hey, do you know what's up with necromancy? And he's like, look, I'll tell you what I know, but tell me the shit that you know about Annabelle. Like, where is she? What is she doing? And Grace is very much like, look, my mom's up with the Iron Sisters. I do have a connection. I'll be able to find out. And then he pulls Lucie aside and he's like, don't trust her.
Don't touch Grace.
Don't, whatever. Like, something's really weird, which I think is so ironic because I'm like, you, sir, you are saying not to trust her. But I guess at this point, we really don't know anything about like what he's going to do. We just know that he has a deep love for Annabelle Blackthorne.
Right. And he's also like, Grace, your power doesn't work on me. Cut it out. Stop it. Like, it's gross. Stop it. And she's like,
and,
whoa.
And Lucie doesn't know about the power at this point. She's like, what power? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like, whoa. But here, where are we? We here have Cortana is feeling wrong to Cordelia. The Merry Thieves are all downstairs. This is where Matthew confesses that he has his own house. And it's he's like very weird about it. He's like, he's very secretive. He's like, I just didn't think anybody would want to know. It's like my own thing. Like,
I've been thinking, but he tries to be dismissive about it. Like, look, I've been thinking about it for a while. I just like finally, I just
finally did it. You know, it's like this whole thing. Like, and James is like kind of hurt by this. He's like, can you take me to see it?
Which I get. Like, I would be hurt too. Like, you're supposed to be, especially with like the whole theme of everybody saying like, oh my God, we're parabatai. Oh my God, you share parabatai, like with the everything. Everybody's parabatai is not sharing shit right now.
Yeah, for real. But here we are up to the scene where James and Cordelia are talking about their memories. And this is where Cordelia's like, don't you remember when I was talking, or I nursed you through the fever? I read you the story of Layla. And James is like, no. But this is when Elias comes and asks for the fucking money. Elias.
Middle of the night, because him and Cordy were doing like their nightly routine of like playing games or something.
Yeah. And he's like, you know, can we talk man to man? And Cordelia's like, oh, okay, yeah, you can. It's fine. He's like, you know, you have this new flat. Like, you know, it's fine. Like, don't you understand? Like, I thought that I was going to like be so much better in life. And like, I have to pay for Searenworth. That's a lie. We know that's a lie later on. He's like, I'm in debt. I can't get promoted. I need like 5,000 pounds. Like you have that.
Bold, sir. Bold of you to think that you have all like, again, I'm acknowledging that his alcohol dependency is an addiction. That's not what it is. But sir, bold of you to think that you were still going to get promoted based on all of your actions.
Yeah, for real. And then, of course, when James is just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Good for him.
Yeah, Elias is like, you know what? People hate you. People hate you, and they hate your little sister, Lucy. Like, you know what? They're going to believe me if I start talking shit. Like,
But you know what? Like, at the same time, James is like, tell me something I don't fucking know. I've known this my entire life.
Yeah, like whatever. And then he stumbles past James, he stumbles past Cordelia, and he's like, your husband is selfish. And Cordelia is like, what the shit?
What is happening? Yeah.
What is going on? And of course James is just like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Like, everything is fine. But that's it. That's the last time that Cordelia sees her father. And like that becomes like kind of a stickler argument for Cordelia and James until Alistair sets her straight, which I do very much appreciate later on.
And even in her internal thoughts, she does acknowledge, she goes, I know what I'm saying is wrong. As I'm saying them, I know I shouldn't be saying them, but he is the person closest to me right now, and this is who I'm going to be lashing out to. I know my dad is a liar about many things, and then again, like you said, she has a deeper conversation with Alistair. But in that moment, it's like, oh, you're in the room with me, you're gonna get all of this right now.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Let's see. What do we have? Oh, we have a little scene of Ariadne and Anna in the whispering room. Girls, get it? I love it. They see Grace storming out of the Haruel. This is the Malcolm Fade. Don't trust anybody. My mom can hook you up with information situation. We have James dreaming of the killer. James dreaming of the killer killing Elias. That sucks.
The timing is always wild, too, because the second he wakes up from these, what did I text you? I said, this is very Harry Potter Voldemort. Like, he's in that POV, which makes sense because we know it's Belial, and we know that obviously because of that's James's grandfather, there's going to be that connection. But the second he gets that vision, he wakes up and the door always, like, there's a doorbell. I guess it's like the 1900s, so there's no doorbell. But he's always getting a knock on the door. Like, the second, he doesn't even have a chance to be like, here's what I thought. Because again, everybody shows up and they're like, wait, did you know about this? And he was like, I didn't even get a chance to let y'all know because you were knocking at the door.
Yep. And here it's Sonar. Sonar appears. Cordelia, he is dead. like, your father, he is dead. This is Alistair, James, Cordelia, and Sonar identify his body in the Silent City. Brother Enoch shows the body. He's been stabbed. This is where it's like Elias is missing a rune. Hello, he's missing a rune. Let's all pay attention here.
Good for Cordelia, because of course she's the one who points that out.
Yeah, she's like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? They tell Lucy all about it, and James tells Cordelia why Elias was there, and they have a spat in the middle of the Silent City. This is very real to me. This, like, because when I read this, I was just like, why are they doing this right here? But of course they're doing this right here. This is grief. This is raw. This is like, she needs to know, and he's telling her, and it's weird and uncomfortable. And like, this is grief.
No, I think, and it's like you said, it's real. There's nothing to add to it.
Yeah. And of course, like this whole time though, James is afraid he's the killer. So he's also like thinking that this whole time.
He hasn't let anybody in on that part of it yet, thinking like, is it me? Am I the problem?
And spoiler, he's not. Grace gets a hold of Tatiana. And
Fucking Grace, every time you say her name, it's like, I hate the name now.
Grace gets a hold of Tatiana, and Tatiana's like, she's dead. Annabelle is dead. She's been dead for over a century. You've got that crystal. Like, what?
If you think I'm making it up, you know what to do.
Yeah, like, what? Like, come on, what's going on? And then Grace is like on her way to go see James or whatever. Meanwhile, James is tying himself down. He's taking no chances.
The stress I had when he's tying himself down. And then you have Cordy with her family. And then you have Effie like, I'm going to take the night off. I don't need to know what you are into. You keep tying yourself off. I'm out for the night. And I was like, Grace is on her way. Grace is going to fucking show up, and he's tied to the bed. And this is going to be just what I've read too many romance novels to know. I was like, this is going to happen. And then it's a whole setup. This is going to be like a paparazzi setup in the 1900s. Stressed, let me tell you.
Very stressful, very stressful. Cordelia, yes, with her family, begs Alistair to take Cortana. She does not feel worthy. We have a little intersection, 1899, Grace. Tatiana asked James to cut the briars. You are going to make him love you. Yes, you are. But her power doesn't work on James.
It's still so fucking wild to me that Tatiana is so against Shadowhunters and the Herondales when she's literally a Blackthorn, and her dad is the one who fucked them up. But she's having like, I guess talking it out. It's like, she has like, oh, but that's my dad. My dad can't do any wrong, which is the opposite of Cordelia being like, no, my dad fucked shit up.
Yeah. It's just like, oh God. Then what do we have? We have Matthew. Just tell me, what does Matthew do here?
Matthew waits for everybody to go to bed at Cordelia's family's house, or really like where they are in the Silent City, but also her house-ish. And he shows up to be like, hey, I think you need a friend. I'll be that friend.
And instead of being like, I'll be that friend, what does he confess?
He confesses, like, because she asks, she's like, you're saying all these words to me. What is so, like, laying so heavy on you? And he's like, oh, you see that, do you? And she's like, everybody can see it. Like, what are you hiding? What is it that you can't share? Like, maybe tell me that. That'll make me feel better. Like, this is a shitty time right now. Like, let's have a shitty time together. And he confesses that, of basically everything that her brother put him through put him, as in Matthew, and his brother through in school, and why he doesn't like Alistair. And then he was like, the rumors were flying, and the whole backstory of what happened in the shadow market of wanting to have a truth serum essentially to give to his mom, but it wound up being poison, which caused his mom to miscarry his sister.
And Matthew's been living with that guilt. No one knows except for Jem, and Jem told Matthew to confess, and of course Matthew didn't. So getting this off of his chest is huge. And Cordelia's like, all right, bet, let's go see Waylon the Smith.
Yeah, also, on top of that, he also confesses that he knows that she's in love with James. And I really thought that was going to be the moment he was like, how did you know? When she's like, how do you know? Like, I thought only I knew. And I haven't even told like Lucy. And I really thought that was going to be like, because he looks at you the same way that I look at you. But it was too soon. But like in hindsight, I was like, it's too soon.
Yeah, it's too soon. It's too soon.
It had to happen the way it did.
Instead, they go motoring, which I just love. I just love
he's
their
the only
whole
one. Yeah, so keep in mind, we're, late 1800s, early 1900s. There are everything has my carriage. Here's my horse and buggy. But Matthew is like, guess what I have? I have a motorized vehicle. So he's also like, let's take the car, not the horse and buggy.
It's so good. So they go on a little adventure to go see Waylon the Smith, and we'll get to it. But James, meanwhile, wakes up, cuts himself free, and hello, Grace is there. Grace is there later. Later. She doesn't just like walk in. But Grace is there. Grace talks to James at his house. And she's like, I just can't talk to anybody. I just kiss me, James, kiss me, kiss me. And this is where after this, Grace is like, all right, I don't know who you were kissing. That wasn't me. And James is like, what? I don't know.
Like he doesn't know that there's a change, but we as the reader know he's starting to like be more aware.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, So that whole subplot is subplotting really good, really good. With the motoring, it's just like little stops, little hotels, little breakfasts, little lunches,
and the flirting. Like Cordelia is acknowledging that he is a flirt, and then quote. He acknowledges that he's like, I'm an incredible flirt. What are you talking? Like, not only am I good, I'm great. And she's like, who did you learn from? And then they like both acknowledge it's like Anna. And he goes, and Oscar Wilde. And which is like, I love the little nod to Oscar Wilde. If you like do your queer history with him too. But I love that acknowledgement there too.
It is so good. And it's very, I love it. I love it so much. They do eventually find, I say Waylon the Smith in quotes. Spoiler for everything. It's Lilith. And it is through this like wild manipulation that Cordelia swears loyalty to Lilith. Be my paladin, swear loyalty every time you lift your blade, you'll lift it in my name. That's some wild shit. And I feel bad for Cordelia about this.
So because you can't paladinize yourself, right?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like how? Because when you read this, were you shocked that when you read this the first time? Were you shocked to find out that it wasn't Waylon?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I was like, because Cordelia. They say, and Cordelia later is just like the arrogance. Like, why did I think that he would ever choose me? The reader is like, because you're wonderful, Cordelia. Yeah. Like, of course. It
made absolute sense. You're like, yeah, of course Waylon would choose you. But the whole, like, it's been Lilith this whole time as the pixie at Hel Ruel, as Waylon, like she's been later, she's Magnus duping everybody.
Yeah.
Like she has, and even when she's like, okay, I feel, even after this visit with quote unquote, like Waylon, like she's like, I feel at one with my sword again. Like we're right where we're supposed to be. I thought something was off. I think I just needed like a hard reset. We're back at it. Like we're good. And then, of course, when everything's being, found out at the end of the book, they're like, of course she had to manipulate the situation. She had to make you think that you were worthy and you felt different. She screwed us all over. I didn't know that she was Lilith. I think I texted you saying, this paladin situation is going to be bad.
Yeah. It just, you see, you were on it the whole time. You were on it. You were so good this whole time. This is where, at the Hel Ruel, Grace spills to Malcolm with no tact at all. Lucy is like, oh my God. That Annabelle is dead, and just sets events in motion that can never be undone. She doesn't even know. We know.
And like, you can, like, okay, for Grace apologists out there, I guess I'll say, I understand, because Lucy says this too. Like, look, I get you grew up with nobody. You have no social decorum whatsoever, but time and place, dude.
Time and place. Whoa. And because also Malcolm, like, you know, kind of loses it, which is like totally fair because like this is his whole fucking thing.
And that's what he has been like. His whole world has been centered around this. Even if it was like, look, even if she doesn't want to talk to me, I just want to know that she is alive and well and healthy. Like, I get it. That's the love of my life. That's kind of what he's been clutching onto all this time.
Yeah. And so like that's done. That sets up the Dark Artifices. So while they like leave his office, while he kind of like loses it, they run into Anna and Ariadne who are like, hey, like, let's work together on this a little bit. Why don't we set up a meeting with Hypatia? Like, let's.
So everything about this is so wild. I like, and even Lucy, she's like, you know what? Maybe I'll talk to him. I wasn't the messenger. I can do something. Maybe I can get something out of this. Or like, and even her telling Grace, she's like, you're an idiot. Like, he already hates the Blackthorns. You just made him hate him more. Like, why would he help you? You are a Blackthorn who wants to necromancy your brother, who is also a Blackthorn. How has this added to the situation at all?
Yeah, you're just like, how does this add to the situation at all? Cordelia, I kissed Grace. I mean, he doesn't lie.
He doesn't lie, but she did come over without her knowing. Granted, it was like, it wasn't like an invited house call. And he tries to say, he's like, look, she came over on her own accord. And I like when Matthew finds this out and he's like, fuck you. Like, you're a piece of shit. You're my best friend, but you're being a piece of shit right now. And he's like, but I told her, like, Cordelia knows. And he now he's like, oh, great. The girl that I love confessed to me that she loves you. And now I know, like, he's just like, he's going to explode. He's going to pop off.
Well, yeah, because then Cordelia's like, oh, you kiss Grace, then kiss me.
Good for her. Good for, like, and you know, James had whiplash because he's like, wait, what? That's my punishment?
He's like, wife.
Best punishment
ever. He's really, and the passion is there. They keep saying there's passion. Like they're very passionate. And he's tied people.
Up. That's because he's like, oh, remember, like we have to tie me up or whatever. And he's like, well, I'm tied up here. And he's like, I can't move, so you're gonna have to like do a little shimmy. Hold me out here.
Yeah, because he's, you know, I'm not the killer. They're like, tie yourself up. We'll watch you. It's like this whole thing, you know. So Cordelia's like watching him all night. Meanwhile, while he is tied up, Lillian Highsmith is arrested. So that proves that James is not the killer. Woo! We can all, breathe easy. However, Thomas is arrested. And Thomas is blamed for being the killer. Of course, we know that's not true because Lillian, you know, he came upon her. It's this whole thing with this subplot later with Alistair. But we have Brother Enoch showing up at Cordelia's house being like, yo, Thomas has been arrested. BT dubs. Cordelia, you were right. Philomena's rune was missing as well. We have a rune thief.
So we have two very popular silent, and this is just like a question from me. We have two very popular silent brothers. Obviously, Brother Zachariah and Brother Enoch. Do you think that we get Brother Enoch so much because it's a familiar person without like Gem again?
Yeah, probably. So we have like a touchstone. Yeah,
like we can't always have Gem.
Yeah. So we have Brother Enoch, and like I like Brother Enoch. Brother Enoch's cool.
He's like indifferent. Cool. Yeah, he's like whatever.
He's there. We love him. And so he tells us all of this stuff. Meanwhile, Thomas is stuck in the Institute, right? There's like a mob at the Institute. Who have you arrested? Whatever. And this is where Alistair comes in and he's like, yo, I was following Thomas for like reasons. Totally legit reasons. And, he didn't do it. I didn't do it. Nobody did it. Like, let's get the mortal sword. Let's prove all of this shit and move on.
So we have to wait a couple. Like, I love there. It's like, look, if you don't want to believe us, give us the mortal sword. We will prove it right now. And I love that even James at this point is like, y'all, we have a lot of secrets right now. We sure we want the mortal sword? And, or at least that's what Thomas is saying. And James is like, look, that we can take care of. We'll address that when it happens. Right now, it's about proving your innocence. And, it's just another thing that you love this group of friends so much, because it's like, look, bigger things at play. Your life. We'll figure it out as we go. And right now, it's going to take a couple days because their mortal sword is currently in Paris with Will and Tessa, who are like cleaning up Matthew's brother, Charles, like shit that he had to handle. Well, he fucked up, and they're trying to rectify that.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing. It's not like Harry Potter where they have the Veritaserum and they just like never use it. And Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
I didn't realize there was only one mortal sword till, I know there was I thought there was a mortal sword, not the mortal sword.
Yeah, and that's why in the Mortal Instruments, it's such a big fucking deal.
Right.
Because they can't make more Shadowhunters because they don't have yeah. Okay. So they're going to use the Mortal Sword in the morning. All awesome. Everybody else goes to the Shadow Market to look for Adamus and to try to make these connections. This is where Matthew and James have the let someone love her connection, confrontation.
And it's also the part where he sees, he'll see, he, as in James, sees Matthew and Cordelia being talking or not handsy, but she's always checking in with him. Are you okay? Are you okay to be here? Because now she knows all the backstory with why he doesn't like the Shadow Market, but he puts on this face for it. And James is I don't know what's going on with my best friend and my wife, but I didn't know that they were friendly like that.
Yeah, for real.
And he's also recognizing his own jealousy all of a sudden.
Yeah, and we're all becoming very self-aware. It's really good. This
so
is
good.
Malcolm and Lucy make a deal to take Jesse's body, and they're going to talk to Annabelle. We're going to we're all going to do this. We're all going to work together. Lucy can talk to Annabelle's ghost. Come on, Malcolm. Let's make a deal. Lucy, okay, Lucy. That's a little bold. That's fine. Do you like this little hint of the Red Scrolls of Magic?
Yes. They didn't even say much. They just talked about the Red Scrolls, and I was like, "Book."
You're like, I know this.
I know of this. I know of this.
And then we have Magnus at Hypatia Vex's little tent, and this is where Magnus they show him the Steely, and he's like, oh, this is demonic script. You saw Edom, you can spy on Belial, you should spy back. You should let's go do that. I'll meet you later. Let's go do that. Okay. Meanwhile, Alistair and Thomas are having their little confession, right? Are you like me?
I love them. I don't know. Okay, maybe love is a strong word. I'm appreciating watching their relationship grow right now.
Yeah, it is. It is lovely. It is lovely. Lucy and Cordelia's carriage is attacked by the scamp demons. And this is that they were sent by Lilith to show Cordelia her power. And this is also where they're like, Paladin, we didn't know. Forgive us.
Yeah, our bad. Y'all keep.
Our bad.
Yeah, our bad. This was, oops. Don't tell the big guy.
Yeah, it's woo. And then Cordelia goes home. James is there. She tells him about Waylon the Smith and being a paladin. This is where Magnus shows up. And then it's 1899 to 1900. This is where Tatiana is slapping Grace. And this is where she's like, the bracelet doesn't work. James is in love with Cordelia. Nothing works. Give him the bracelet. If he puts it on willingly, it's super powerful and it will take over. The bracelet will work. It's just And this is also where Grace is sneaking in to the laboratory to see Kit because she's like, I'm sneaking. I need these ingredients. I'm sneaking. And Kit's like, why? Hello. And
nobody visits Kit. Kit is in his own little, he stays in his lane.
Yeah, he's like, oh, and this is where they find out that the runes transfer. That with the it's not like a Steely, it's not a thing, it's a rune tree. All of this stuff. Lucy and Hypatia at her new shop. I love where Anna is just like, oh, but you're with Magnus, right? what about this snuff box? Will you help us? Let us help you. Help us. Help him. Help us. And Hypatia's like, what the shit? What?
I think the Shadowhunters confuse Hypatia all that. She's like, why do I allow myself to get roped into this? I don't know how to say no.
Yeah, every time. What? But they're asking about Jessie, and they're asking if she remembers Jessie, and like who was the warlock, but put the like protection spells on. You know what is going on, and this is where we get the connection of Emmanuel Gast from book 1, and Lucie's like, I know that motherfucker. I know him. It's like, okay, good to know. Thomas and Alistair, meanwhile, are kissing in the room while they wait to be judged by the moral sword. I'm nothing like you. You're a good person. I'm not. Love their whole growth, as you said. This is also where Matthew goes to Kit and takes the, the pit this. And Christopher's talking about how Grace, there's like more to Grace, there's more to Grace. And then Matthew shows up and he's like, oh, hi, Matthew. Why are you like knocking on the door of your own house? This is very weird, but sure, take this thing. Perfect trust, right? Love him. And of course it's not Matthew. And that just makes it sad.
No, because then everyone's like, yeah, I gave you the thing. And then they're like, I didn't give you shit. And then they're like, well, then who did I give it to?
It's like, uh-oh. Meanwhile, Lilith and James are traveling to the Shadow World, right? They get onto a chessboard. Magnus like vanishes. It's this whole thing. They're talking about Lilith. And then Magnus is like, you have one. You only need 3, my guy. What are we fucking with? What are we doing? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? But his wound from Cortana is still bleeding. And I like, James is like, why are you sending me these visions? Abelia's like, I'm not doing shit, my guy.
Which is hard to believe. Yeah. Like, even when he's saying that, I'm like, but aren't you?
Like, I don't know about that. This is also where James is like kind of in trouble here, right? He's not doing so good. Who comes to save him?
Cordelia!
Oh, my goodness.
Everybody loves the trope, like, where's my wife? She's mine. Reverse the trope because she's like, get the fuck away from him. He's mine. And he's like, he's unconscious and he's still like, I'm hers. he's like, so excited. She's like, did she just call me her?
It's like, I heard you calling. Meanwhile, Magnus is hurt and stunned. His magic is the wrong color. His magic is blue.
Yeah.
It's not. Or no, his magic is, it's green. It's not blue sparks, right? Yeah. Magic is
the blue
green.
Sparks are how we know.
Yeah,
like,
it's him.
The actual Magnus. Yeah.
We have...
Oh.
Wait, no, go.
No, I was going to say, is it too soon where they come out of it and he's like, did you mean what you said, that I'm yours?
I'm going to say the bracelet cracks right off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is that part. The bracelet broke at that moment where he's like, did you mean that I'm yours? And she's like, yes, maybe. Like, she doesn't want to like admit it because he doesn't know that what she really feels about him. And they kiss and he's like making out and he's like, Daisy, Daisy, my Daisy. And it was like, the spell is unbroken.
You're my constant star. It's so good. It's so good. All right, James. Let's Whiplash. You talk about Grace, 1903. Haha. Chasing after James. Jessie doesn't know that Tatiana has given Grace this like mission to seduce James, and that Grace has this power. So it's a lot of guilt and just kind of building up Grace's backstory. Lucie commands a ghost in front of Jessamine. And this is where Jessamine finds out. This is where Jessamine has been like, so every time you asked me to brush my hair, I didn't have a choice. Like, what the fuck,
Which
Lucie?
I understand where Jessamine was coming from, but in those moments, I don't think Lucie saw it as that. It was very much like her, like their friends. They're like, oh, do you mind brushing my hair?
Yeah, so it's very sad. But this is where we kind of learn about the anchor, right? The anchor that was told to us in chapter 1. We're just like, an anchor. He's like, all right, interesting. Will, Tessa, Thomas, and Alistair questioned in front of the Inquisitor and Charlotte about the mortal sword. The best thing here is, does Gideon remember that he owes me 20 pounds?
They're like, do we ask everything? Do we know that this is truthful? Like what he's saying, even though it is the mortal sword. And that was so good. It was like, it was the Will that we love cracking through. And because Charlotte had just, chastised him, he's like, do you have any more secrets? And Thomas is like, fuck. And Charlotte's like, no, it has to be specific. You know how this works, Will.
It's like, it's so good. It's so good. And of course, the boys are cleared. They didn't do anything. We also learned that Matthew didn't go to Christopher's house, so that the rune transfer is missing. Very sweet scene with Ariadne and Anna being like, my real name is like Carmela. It's all very good. They see a big cloud over the Institute, right? The Institute starts shaking. It's a whole thing. Lucy is not there. Lucy is at Chiswick House.
Lucy's at Chiswick House. This is the cloud over the Institute. This is where Anna is like looking around to be like, is this an us Shadowhunters thing, or is this like a world thing? And then she goes like, everybody else is just like,
it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. It's just like, So yeah, Lucy's at Chiswick House. She is understanding the anchor. She sees that Jessie has 5 runes. This is where she's like going for the sword. And she's like, I'm sorry. And this is where she gets knocked the fuck out. Yeah. So Lucy's down and out at Chiswick House. This is James. He's having visions. He's alone. He feels like all this contempt for a man, all of this stuff. But then he realizes that he sees Leviathan's sigil, right? And that Belial has the Pythos. This is where it all is connecting, and things are shaking, and they all run to the garden, and there is seawater. Leviathan come.
The second I saw seawater, I was like, I'm guessing Leviathans. I'm getting all the supernatural vibes. And then when they saw the seawater, I was like, yep, Leviathans confirmed.
Yeah, it's like, oh, interesting. So then there's like this big fight, everybody's fighting. And then time stops.
Is this the creepy part where Jessie starts walking towards them? Everyone's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Oh my gosh, there's a creepy kid. The creepy kid is whistling and strolling. Who the fuck is this? Oh my gosh. No, the fuck it isn't. That is Jessie Blackthorne. And then you hear Belial speaking. Well, it's really just like they know based on the personality that Belial has possessed Jessie Blackthorne's body.
Yeah, and this is where we get the whole plot. The whole plot is dumped here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of it. Jessie is like this backup plan. It's my essence was the anchor, the protection spells, all of it.
Jessie died. So that's like, so you find out Grace was never like a kid. She was just kind of a transaction. So she was, but like you said, Jessie was the backup if Tessa couldn't have kids.
Exactly. He's been like working this whole time. Jesse's been ordered to like a Twilight life so that his ghost is there. His body's preserved. It's like not a permanent solution. Like James is the permanent solution, but like he's still working this backup thing. He's got to get Cordelia out of the way. So Jesse's going to deal with that because Cordelia can hurt him. Again, like, I've had to put Tatiana off for years because she wants to like raise him, but I still need this body. Like it's like, oh, you got me monologuing again.
Bat and villain monologues, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's just like a whole, and Cordelia though is fucking done with it. And she's like, you know what? I'm done. Bah. And she attacks. And you know what? We love that because Belial's just been stalling for a Leviathan. And he says, like, look, I'm going to kill everybody, James, if you don't let me possess you again. And here's Leviathan. He's gonna do it for me. So like, kind of choose, please.
Yeah, I thought James was gonna choose.
So did I. Yeah, so do I. But then Who pops up here?
Lilith shows up.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Hey, Paladin, what's up?" And everyone's like, "What do you mean? I'm Waylon's Paladin." And she's like, "Oh, you mean this Waylon? Or this Pixie? Or this Magnus Bane?" And everyone's like, "Fuck."
Yeah. Everyone's like, oh my God. And she's like, you know what? Like, Cortana has Michael's feather in it, Belial. That's why it can hurt you, Belial, because he's the one that took you out. I'm in this now. Lilith says, like, I'm in it. Get out of my land, Belial. Like, this is like, why? Cordelia, kill him, please. Kill him. But then Lucie, who has been woken up and who has told Grace about everything. She goes after everything. She goes to Malcolm and she stands in the way of this killing blow that Cordelia is going to make to Belial. And she's like, stop. And Cordelia, who is compelled, I would think is the right word.
Yeah, because she pledged fealty, whenever she is beckoned upon, it's a no questions, actions only situation.
Yeah, like no questions, actions only. It's like kind of wild too. So the whole time Cordelia's like, get out of the fucking way. Get out of the way. Lucie, shut the fuck up and get out of the way. I can end this right now. And she's like, no, it's Jesse. It's Jesse. And everybody else is like, get out of the way.
Everybody.
Move.
He's like, boy's dead. Lucie, boy's dead.
Like, yeah, like, come on. And then this is where Belial's like, you're a useless girl. You can't see the Shadowlands. I don't like you. Rah. And then Lucie's like, oh, you thought? Jesse Blackthorn, get back in your body. What do you think you're doing? Get back in your body, Jesse Blackthorn. And this is where, like, Belial's like, rah, and Jesse's like, rah. They're fighting in there. And then this is the moment where James goes cloudy, right? Takes Cordelia, goes cloudy too, and they are able together to stab Belial in the Shadowlands, and that is wound 2. He only needs 3.
Which means we have a book 3. So you're reading this and you're like, oh, well, and obviously it's the end of this part of the Chronicles. Like, oh. So you're like, okay, this is how that ends.
And how this scene ends is Malcolm arriving on a horse. I'm sorry. I need to see that. That's ridiculous. Malcolm arrives on a horse. He's like, oh, the doors are shut in the Shadowland. Charles, meanwhile, through all of this, Charles had been very hurt. Matthew's brother, he is awake, and he's going to be taken care of. This is also where James just like confesses everything to everybody about Jesse, Belial. Everybody's talking about everything now. This is good. And Malcolm is just beyond done with all of them about this fury over Annabelle. But then Magnus is at the Institute. Yay.
Magnus is at the Institute. Oh, James has finally told Daisy, my love. And I'm like, finally, we're admitting things. We're in a good direction, or so you think.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. We can't. It's so close. Okay. So where are we? We are at the Institute. Magnus. I've been waiting for shit to go down. And of course it goes down while I wasn't here. Like the spell books I had to deal with like this really ancient evil in this spell book, but like I'm here now. Let's go. Let's do stuff. Okay. We have a very sweet scene with Sonar and Cordelia, where she's like, you married James for scandal, like all this stuff. Like, don't dote on me. Like, go live your life. And yeah. I am pregnant. I have to be like kind of in confinement, but like, don't worry about me. Like, yeah, please be happy.
Yeah. Cause it was very much like, she's like, you and Alistair, that you guys just want to be here for me and your sibling, but like, you didn't choose for me to have this late pregnancy and life. Like, all a parent would truly want is for their kid to be happy, whatever that means for you.
Yeah. Speaking of being happy, James, everybody's at the house. James confesses the story. It was never Magnus. It was always Lilith because the magic was the wrong color. Cordelia confesses being Lilith's paladin. And she's like, I would understand if you all hate me, but like no one gives a shit. Everyone's like, LOL.
Like you're in your own head because, and she's like, oh my God, I really have friends, y'all.
Like, this is not a big deal. This is where Matthew's hands are really visibly shaking and everyone's like, oh my goodness. We have a scene where Anna and Ariadne, Anna rejects Ariadne again, which is just, that's just like a subplot that's going on. Lucy's going to Cornwall with Malcolm, right? Like she's got all of her stuff. She's in Jesse's memories. Like, I command you to live. Jesse's breathing. Lucy blacks out. Like, this is where it circles back to the beginning of the book. Lucy, you have to choose your life or Jesse's, which is more important. This is, so Malcolm takes them all. They go to Cornwall. Again, this is like so hugely plot specific for the Dark Artifices. It's just like, that's his fucking cottage in Cornwall that, Okay. So Lucy is with Malcolm, blacked out. She had left a note. It's like this whole thing. Tatiana tells Grace to seduce Jesse. What?
Yep. I was like, I had to rewind it because I thought I heard it wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, but that's her brother. This is, so no.
And Tatiana's like, you're not blood. You're not related even slightly.
Yeah. And she's like, and she even told, and she's like, I don't consider y'all anything either. I consider you a business partner.
Yeah.
Not even my daughter. I am not your mother. We are partners. And my goal, which is to get my son back.
Yeah. And Grace is like,
No,
absolutely not. Fuck off completely.
And she doesn't. You know where Grace fucks off to? James Herondale.
Where James Herondale is having a passionate kiss with Cordelia. It is a real marriage. It is a real marriage, Daisy. Well, do you feel for me as you feel for Grace? I don't feel anything like how I used to feel for Grace. Oh.
And here's where it starts, because as Cordelia is like, holy shit, like, I know how he felt about Grace. I don't even compare to that. Like, now she's already in her own head. James is already like, I just heard what I said out loud in my head, and that does not bode well for me. That does not sound great. I hear how that sounds, and I would be upset with me too.
Yeah.
But at this moment, the doorbell rings.
Yeah, the doorbell rings, and it's just like, what is going on? Because again, James is free. He is free now of the bracelet. He is noticing that Matthew is not okay. He is noticing all of this tension with Alistair and Thomas. He is noticing how much he loves Daisy. He knows that thinking about Grace fills him with revulsion. He suspects that he's been under a spell this whole time. So when Grace shows up here, James is like, all right, bet. Let's do this. Let's do this now, you little bitch. Like,
yeah. And he plays into it at first because he wants to like send the message out to get other people here to come collect Grace too, because she throws herself at James. Oh my God, thank you. I'm calling the wedding off with Charles. And he's just like, thank God for that. Yay. But that's not what he actually means. But it's all a timing thing. It's all a miscommunication trope, because Cordelia comes down the stairs. She's already not feeling so great. Aside from, everything that just happened upstairs, she's also in her head because she is realizing she can't be parabatai with Lucy right now. She's not, like, she's looking for a friend. She needs a friend. She has Grace throwing herself at her husband. She's like, well, I can't talk to Lucy about that because now I know that they've been kind of cooperating on this other thing. So, like, everything's a mess in Cordelia's life. So she just dashes the fuck out that door.
Yeah. And too, like, I understand James's rage here too. He chucks the bracelet at Grace, and he has a whole blowout about how you stole my whole life. You stole my identity.
Rightfully so. And Grace only, again, we said this a few times throughout the episode, she's only confessing everything because he showed his hand. Like, what? It's so important to note that because she had every intention, and James says this, you had every intention of keeping up this ruse coming over right now. You proved it to me when you walked through that door, threw yourself at me, and put your hands around my neck.
Yep. You did this to me at 14. You did it all for Belial. You destroyed me. How dare you touch me? I'm going to call the Silent Brothers. Like, you are fucked from here on out. And Grace is like, you know what? Yeah. Take me. I'm done. Like, I'm done. Take me.
She should too, because I mean, at least like somebody needs to get her away from all of this. I understand. Again, I'm acknowledging, and I think we both are, like, we understand that this is a survival thing. We understand the house that she was raised under with Tatiana. But, like, finally, she's like, I need to go no contact.
Yeah. So it's, of course, Cordelia hears this, hears only the part of thank God that James says, and is like, I'm out. Cordelia flees to Matthew's. Meanwhile, Jessamine is telling Will and Tessa about Lucie and her notes and running away. So that is happening in the Institute. Will and Tessa are desperately trying to find Lucie, and Jessamine is telling them. And then Cordelia is fleeing to Matthew's flat. And Matthew opens the door, and he's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. He's like, and he knows. He's like, what did he do? He knew. What the hell did James do? I thought he had his shit together a few times. I thought it was going to happen here. I thought it was going to happen there. Why don't you stay here? She has a great relationship. Like Cordelia, we know, has a great relationship with Matthew. And she also knew that he was the one person that she didn't have to hide anything from. He knew all the secrets. He knew all the truths. And she just needed a friend. And he was like, so stay here. And she's like, this is going to be weird. Like, like you want me to sleep on the couch or like and he's like, oh, I'm leaving. I'm so in love with you that I can't be around you in my parabatai right now because I thought shit was going to work out with you. And that's great. I'll get over it at some point. But take my place. And she's like, you're in love with me?
You're in love with me? But she's also like, I love James. Yeah. I lied to him. I forced him into a marriage under false pretenses because I didn't tell him I loved him. So he didn't know. I deserve this pain, right?
Because James wouldn't have done these things if I actually told him, look, this isn't going to work. I'm in love with you. Because James wouldn't put her through that.
Exactly. And Matthew's like, I can't see both of you happy. I thought you were happy. I can't see it. Like I've loved you since your Hell Ruel dance. Like I can't do this. So I'm going to Paris. And this is where Cordelia's like, Paris? You're going to Paris? I'll go to.
He invites her to Paris and he's like, look, and she says, what does she say? You always say how great Paris is to like distract you from things.
Yeah. She's like, well, then prove it. And he's like, all right, bet. So they don't really even pack. They just immediately go to the train station. Just tell me about this train station ending.
Oh, it's so good. Okay. So if you ever watch the CW, if you've ever watched good teen drama and think the WB2, like this is the season finale of the best season of your favorite teen drama. And you have to wait months for what's going to happen because they're on the train. At this same time, James is like, because all of this is happening. Keep in mind, we have Will and Tessa at the Institute. James is fine. Matthew and Cordelia are fleeing the train station. They're like, let's run away from our problems together. Matthew is already like, look, we'll be friends. We'll have our separate rooms. I will respect your distance because, by the way, I was going to respect your marriage and I wasn't even going to come full circle to that man was like, your year is up. I'm ready to wait for you. It doesn't matter. And James is like, hey, Effie, like, where's my wife? And she's like, oh, I'm staying out of my business, but she saw you in the foyer with someone who wasn't your wife and she dipped. She ran the fuck out. And he's like, why didn't you stop her? And she's like, I don't get paid enough for this bullshit. So then he's like James is like running across town. People are like, oh my God, why is this Herondale boy running to this train station? He gets there. He sees them. He sees her because he goes to Matthew's house because he's like, where is she going to go? He's like, oh, my tracking rune is going to bring me to her. That's weird. Why is she at my best friend's house? Then realizes his best friend isn't there. They dip to the train station. He's running. He sees him. He's making this train. He's going to be like, what up, fam? What's going on? Let's all talk because huge miscommunication trope. I know what you saw. Timing is really bad, y'all. But like, I'm in it. I'm in it for the long haul. Somebody stops him. He's about to get on the train. And somebody puts their hand on the shoulder. And you're just like, who the fuck is stopping Mr. James Herondale? You just want to whiplash and you want to fight him, but you can't fight him because you find out it's Will. And you're like, Will, what are you doing here? And now Will is desperate because he has one kid in front of him. He has one kid that's missing. And he's like, look, I'm the first. I don't even know what's going on there. I know you say you want to go on your honeymoon. Not exactly the time. I get you want to go with your bestie and your wife, but like, you need to stay here. And you're just screaming the whole time. Tell Will what's going on. Tell Will what's going on. He will get it. He will let you be on that train and take a key, a portal key or something back to it. They were going to, he would have found a way, and nobody's saying anything. It's the craziest, like Laura was talking about earlier, where she's like, certain, you're visualizing these scenes, things are panning out. You are watching this. These are not words on a page. These are not like words that you're listening to. These are scenes, and you're just like hyperventilating, clutching your chest the entire time. It's incredible.
It's incredible. And you're just like, oh my God. And then James is like, but like, when I tell them, then it'll be this whole thing. They deserve that. Like So then he goes with Will and he goes with Magnus, and they're on their way. They're going to go find Lucy. So that's their like whole plot, is like, they have to go find Lucy, and Matthew and Cordelia are in Paris. And the book, like, that chapter ends, and you're just like, oh my God. Oh my God. It just ends. And then there's an epilogue with Tatiana, getting out of the Iron Citadel, and there's the key and Belial, and, that sets us up. And then there's a little bonus story that we're not going to talk about. But oh my God, that ending.
That is how, because you want to know something, that ending. And Laura, we talked about it before this episode. We tendency have to have the discussions, especially in a confirmed trilogy, of book 2 being like a travel book, or book 2 is like usually kind of like a large info dumping book that usually feeds into and bridges your way to book 3. This is not that. This was such a very strong, non-travel-y book 2, in the best way possible.
Yeah, in the best way possible. You're not even asking me. My favorite moments are Will
I'm
with
waiting.
the wheel demon. My favorite moments are Will with the wheel demon and the ending and the necklace. That's it.
The necklace with Anna, the Anna necklace, or the world necklace?
The world necklace. It's just so good. It's just so good. What are yours?
I'm still processing. I love it all. I don't want to confirm a favorite moment yet, because right now I'm just that finale high.
It's so
good. That last chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, like, where do we go from here? And I feel like it's hard to say that, because when we finish the book, there's an extra chapter, bonus chapter. And I asked you, because you've guided me through this whole thing, do I read it? And you were like, it's not going to add. It's just like additional information. So, and I didn't want to get out of this headspace. But is there, people can, like, it's chronicles. It's not just like a series. It is a series. Is there any other way that you would recommend to read this?
No.
Like, would you ever start? Okay. That was going to be like, no. Would you start with the last hours? You can't.
No. No, I really do not think that you could just like, because I know that Jess, you have said like you could start here, like you could not the last hours like specifically, but like other parts in Shadowhunters, like you could start here. Like it won't, maybe it won't make as much sense, but you could start here. You could not start, I don't think, with the last hours and get as much out of it as what is here. There's so much. There's fan service here. There's nods here. There's connections here. There's just mentions of things here that are fun, that if you are enmeshed in the Shadowhunter world that you really love. And like, Jess, you and I were talking earlier, like, yeah, there's Easter eggs. I love eggs. Give them to me.
They're so good because it's like, do they add to the story? No. If you took it out, would it make a difference? No. It's just there for the fans. It is just there for the fans. And don't we love when they do that?
It's lovely. It's lovely. So no, I don't think you could just like pick up the Shadowhunter world from the last hours. I think you really should put in the work and start somewhere else so that you can love these characters, because there is there's a lot of characters here. There's a lot of male characters that have the same last names and shared names. And there's a lot to wrap your head around. And it is easier to love and understand these books and these characters, this series specifically, if you have some sort of Shadowhunter background.
Yeah.
Just so that you can love it, because it's a good story that deserves to be loved, because this ending, you deserve to like, at this ending.
And again, we're almost at the end. No?
Yeah.
Which is like, I want to drag our feet because I don't want it to be over.
Yeah, but we almost are. We'll get, Wicked Powers, Secrets of Blackthorn Hall, which we have not touched. Obviously, I think, Jess, you can see from the order that we are doing this, like why we have not touched Secrets of,
Blackthorn Manor. Oh my gosh, did you even start that yet or not?
I did a little bit of it, but again, it is easier for me to converse with you, to be in the heads, you know what I'm saying? Like the headspace.
You're almost there.
To not even think about it. I'm not even going to think about it. So I'm here with you. I'm present with you in the moment.
Almost there. Then you're going to be like, just get book 3 in, and then we can figure the rest of it out, because there's still some novellas we haven't tapped into yet.
Yes, there are still some novellas, some Magnus and Alex stuff that we haven't gotten to, but we will. But true to fashion, we are consistent here on ACOFAE. This has run a little long.
But thanks for joining us. We can't wait for you to keep following us on the journey. Feel free to follow us on Instagram. We're at ACOFAE Podcast. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. We can't wait to hear from you, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.